Today I'm very pleased to announce that we are launching new pilots that will provide permanent residency status for caregivers as soon as they arrive in Canada. The biggest change coming in these new pilots will be providing a one-step immigration process. Before, caregivers first needed to get work permits and then obtain work experience before applying for permanent residency. Under the new rules, we're simplifying the process and providing them with a clear, straightforward pathway to stay and care for our loved ones. The change will notably provide more autonomy for caregivers to leave workplaces with abusive situations and seek opportunities to advance in the care sector. And Lord knows I've heard a lot of those stories, not only today, but in the past, as we've been listening and reaching out to people that have been providing that support and have been in abusive situations. I'm also pleased to share that we are lowering, out of fairness, the language requirements to Canada Language Benchmark 4 under these new PR on arrival pilots. Our aim is to strike a balance between breaking down the barriers caregivers face to get PR and selecting newcomers who will be resilient to changes in the labor market. Lowering the language requirements is a must-needed change that we've heard directly from the community on, and will align with other programs in my department, as well as provincial programs, creating better consistency and fairness for all applicants. Caregivers will still have the needed language skills to work in the caregiving field. Let me be clear about that. And finally, as we look to address the desperate need for caregivers, we're also expanding the pilot programs from private household employers now to also include organizations who will directly employ home care workers. This will allow for and not-for-profit organizations to provide job offers and help address home care needs where labor shortages exist.
Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel. I've got a very intriguing news for you, a very laudable news that we just got from Immigration Minister Marc Miller regarding caregivers that are coming into Canada. Do you know that once, as a caregiver in Canada, if you get to come into Canada, immediately you land into Canada, you become a permanent resident in Canada right away. This is huge. This is unheard of. This is the first time this is happening because so many advocates have been advocating for this in the years past. So as a caregiver in Canada, once you land in Canada, you become a permanent resident. So I'm going to stay tuned because that's what I'll be dissecting in this episode today. Okay, viewers, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. I still remember my humble self, MC Bernardino. This is Canada Reality, where I dish out content for those that are already in Canada and those that have the aspiration of migrating into Canada. Is this your first time on this YouTube channel? Please do me the honor, hit on the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that anytime I drop a video, you always be among the first to get it. And if you enjoy this video, please smash on the likes button because it helps everything. Share a video with more people. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Immigration Minister Marc Miller said this week that caregivers, the new policy is in place now, and that policy will be coming into effect in the fall of this year. That's later this year or early 2025. And the policy is just geared towards caregiver. And the main laudable part of that news is that the moment they come into Canada, they become a permanent resident. That is outstanding. That's laudable because if you're outside Canada as a foreigner, you have the experience as a caregiver. I mean, this is the best time for you to actually take this opportunity and to come into Canada and not just come, you become a permanent resident in Canada right away. I know the express entry might be cool, but some the provincial nominee might be tasky. You have to accrue points, you have to do all those stuff, English test requirements, education, West education, and all those stuff equivalent that you need to do. I mean, it might be very demanding, but this clear pathway, if you have the experience, don't forget I said, if you have the experience as a caregiver and you can prove that with a certificate and work experience, this should be something you're looking at. The reason why they brought out this policy was geared towards because they know that caregiver in Canada, they do a lot because they help, because caregiver in Canada, they do a lot, they sacrifice a lot, and they also help build the system. Because as a caregiver, when parents have caregiver to take care of their kids, to take care of their elderly ones, they can actually go to work and contribute to the economy. Because if the parent can't go to work because they have to take care of their kids or their parent, then how do they contribute into the society? How does the economy grow? So that is why Liberal government, they feel that it is very important for them to actually do something in this regard to ensure that caregivers are given the opportunity to come into Canada. And something enticing about it is that they become a permanent resident right away. Don't forget in the past that caregiver, the previous rule that used to be in place that is coming to an end on June 17, allow caregiver to come into Canada and they have to work for 1 year. So more like they are tied to that employer for 1 year And sometimes this employee, this caregiver, they are taken advantage of by their employer. They are ridiculed. They are given the work environment is toxic sometimes, and that is why some of these caregiver, they are discouraged and they end up not doing what they are supposed to do in Canada. That is why the Liberal government feel that they need to actually clean the system. They need to actually sanitize it. They want to make sure that the employees, the caregivers are not tied to employer for 1 year before they can apply for their permanent resident. But right away, the moment they come into Canada, they can just apply. That is an improvement, and that is what some advocates have been clamoring for. So let me quickly take you to kind of a background so we better understand. The Home Child Care Provider Pilot Program and the Home Support Work Pilot Program was initiated in 2019. And so it was initiated in 2019, and it's meant to be for 5 years, and that 5 years is lapsing on June 17, 2024. And that's why the Liberal government, through Immigration Minister Marc Miller, came forward to say that since it's expiring later this month, they need to actually postulate a new policy. And that's why they refined the policy to make it more enticing for caregiver, because they understand the importance of this caregiver in the Canada economy as a whole. All right, so now let's look at the basic changes that are now in effect, that will be in effect rather later this year, or worst case early next year, as said by the Immigration Minister. So the major difference will be that first one is that the moment the caregiver comes into Canada, they become a permanent resident right away. In the past, I said you have to work with that employer for 1 year before you can file for a permanent resident. That is one major change. Another change is in the language efficiency. So in the past, it used to be, the requirement used to be CLB5 in order for you to qualify and to apply for this for the permanent resident through the caregiver program rather. But now it has been dropped by 1 point. So the CLB requirement now is 4. CLB 4, is something basic that, even if you are the dollar of the dollars, you should be able to get CLB 4 in your English test proficiency and qualify for this. So the requirement in terms of English, it's nothing compared to when you have to do express entry, provincial nominee, or all those other pathways. And another major difference is that in the past, the requirement is always that you need to have at least 1 year post-secondary education or a foreign equivalent. But now that has been reduced now to equivalent of Canadian high school diploma will suffice. So now post-secondary education now has been dropped to just equivalent of Canada high school diploma. So high school diploma, that's secondary school. If you're done with secondary school, you can just use that certificate to apply for this particular pathway. All right, without boring you so much information, it is basically clear, it is straightforward, it is nice. If you are outside Canada as a foreigner, you have experience as a caregiver, you've been doing this in the past, you're still doing it now, you can prove that with your certificate, you can prove that with your work experience from your employer. This is something you should be looking at. Don't forget that as a caregiver, it's not talking about age. There's no age requirement as compared to express entry or provincial nominee. The CLB is just for CLB 4, which is something that is attainable but what I think it's attainable, and also just a Canadian diploma equivalent. That is okay. So please, if you know somebody that actually fits into this, probably you've your previous study, you graduated as a nurse, as a caregiver, as a social service worker, as a personal support worker. Whichever way you feel aligns with this, and also not just the certificate alone, you have experience in this field. So all you have to do is just get your resume, go online. The immigration minister said that before the year runs out, they will be unfolding more information on how you can apply the portal and all those things. But based on antecedent, based on what we know about in the past, all you have to do is just go online and start applying on a Canada government job bank website and start applying for these jobs. When you apply for these jobs, they interview the employer, they interview you, they feel that you are the one they want, then all the rest are history. So this is a pathway that I want you to actually look at. If you're outside Canada and you want to come into Canada, you don't want to come through school, express entry, provincial nominee, this is another pathway you can actually look at if you have the experience. So once again, the more information about the policy will be rolled out in the course of the year. So I'm going to stay tuned on this website and also on IRCC website, where you can actually get more information about this new pathway, because I want to see you in Canada very soon. Okay, viewers, do you understand this video that I brought for you today? If you do, please hit on the like button, share a video with whoever you feel will benefit from it. If you have any question, any concern you don't understand, please drop it in the comment section. Also visit RSSC website where you can actually read more about this pathway for yourself. Till I come back to you again on this YouTube channel, I still remember my humble self, MC Bernardino. Please stay out of trouble. God bless you.